Hey everybody, I'm Javeda Bay, aka the Millennial Sexpert, and welcome back to Toy Talk, my web series where I share all of my knowledge about all things sex toys with you so that way you can be the most informed sex toy purchaser possible. So, Happy New Year! I'm excited for 2023. I think it's gonna be a great year. I got a vibe about it. But because I want to make sure that you are making the best choices for you possible, today I want to talk about actually communicating about sex toys. So, not really like about a specific type of toy or like anything like that, but how to bring up the conversation of like, hey, let's use sex toys with a partner. Like, how to actually have a conversation of like, hey, this thing I like, I would like you to use it on me, So, let's get into that. So for a lot of people, using sex toys can seem intimidating, especially like with a partner, because like how do you bring that up? How do you have that conversation? But it doesn't have to be intimidating, especially if both y'all understand that like sex toys enhance partnered play. They are great for solo play. Like they offer a lot of things, but they don't take away from other things. That is the first important thing that you need to remember when starting this conversation, thinking about having this conversation, is recognizing like toys are not going to hurt y'all. They are going to help make the experience more. So when you decide that you want to have this conversation with a partner, there are a few things that you should keep in mind. One, being direct in the conversation. Yeah, that whole thing I talked about in Bed with a Millennial yesterday, yeah, it still applies to this conversation. So being direct, not just being like, hey, have you ever thought about sex toys, and leaving that as the entire conversation, but being like, hey, I was thinking that maybe we could introduce sex toys into our partnered play for XYZ reasons, or because like I saw this thing and it sounded cool, or even being like, Gervais said that it would be fun, so I think we should do it. Say that. Be direct in saying it. Also, be honest. And this is for both sides of the conversation. If you are the person on the receiving end of this conversation and you're nervous and you're like, I don't know, I just feel like a little uncomfortable. Like, I don't know how to use sex toys, or I don't know, I feel like they'll distract and I won't be able to focus like in the moment. Like, whatever your reasons are, share them honestly with your partner, because how are y'all going to address it if you're not really saying what it is like, got you feeling some kind of way? And then lastly, listening. Listen to what your partner is saying to you, whether it's like, I don't know how I feel about it for these reasons, or if it's like, I want to do it for these reasons. Make sure you're listening, because it's extremely important. A lot of us have a tendency when we hear things that aren't exactly what we expected them to be in terms of a response from somebody, we go off on the deep end and we're like, oh my goodness, they don't enjoy having sex with me. No, 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 no. Listen to what they're saying, because I promise you, it is more than likely not that at all. So you're going to take those 3 skills and you're going to apply it to the conversation. But there are some other important details in having this conversation around using sex toys with a partner. The first one being, do not introduce just like any old toy. Like, especially if they have no experience with toys, you gotta start slow and build your way up. It's a learning curve, and there's no problem with that. But don't think that you have to break out the biggest toy possible and be like, hey, use this on me. No, 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 no. You can start with the smallest thing, the least intimidating thing. Be like, hey, let's give this a try and see how we feel about it. Also, just because you say that you want to use toys doesn't mean that it has to be like the most powerful, or like something that even has like vibration. There are a wide variety of toys out there, and starting out with something that doesn't have like additional stimulation could be really beneficial, especially if y'all are completely new to using toys together or in general. And another important detail when thinking about communicating around sex toys is how you are actually saying it. Like, you have to be careful with the language you use. And like, that's really because like saying something like, oh, our sex would be so much better if you use this, can kind of come off like, oh, they're not really satisfying me. Which, like, if that's the case, sex toys are not the conversation you need to be having. You need to be having a conversation about what's not working for y'all in the bedroom already. But yeah, so make sure you're using language that's not really like attacking your partner and how they are showing up for you in the bedroom, but just being like, yo, actually, I think this would be really fun to use to add like a new type of stimulation, or just to like try something new. But yeah, just be direct, honest, and listen when you're having this conversation, this dialogue with your partner about using sex toys. But definitely have the conversation. The number one rule is you don't just pull out a sex toy before ever having talked about it with your partner. So keep that in mind. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you come back tomorrow, because I have a new episode of On the Road to Dr. Effin. But make sure you come back every week, because I have so much content. And yeah, go and talk to your partners about sex toys, because they're nothing to be afraid of. And y'all gonna have a great time with them. So until next time, I'm gonna see you later. Deuces.